Are you ready to build your network at lightning speed? Well, mark your calendar for April 16th through the 18th and join us at Connect. You'll experience 3 days of growing, networking, and breaking through your limitations. Look, you'll never be the same. So go to attend-connect.com to learn more.
I can tell you that the biggest part of the mindset of growing a business is an inability to accept failure.
How do you build a network, run a profitable business, and make an impact? Oh, and have a personal life at the same time? That's the question, and this podcast is the answer. I'm your host, Chaz Wilson, husband, father of 5, author of the book 5+1, president and co-founder of Master Networks, Inc., a national networking organization. Look, each week I bring you successful entrepreneurs who will share success strategies of how to effectively build a network, add valuable wisdom to your journey, and help you succeed. Welcome to Connect, Share, and Prosper.
Hey everybody, welcome to Connect, Share, Prosper. This is episode 92. Welcome to the new year. And I'm excited today. We've been spending some time. I had to just hit record and go live because we've just been deep in conversation with my guest today. Let me introduce my guest before we go too far. My guest, Ken Spanky Moskowitz, is a family man through and through. He and his lovely wife, Allison, have 2 biological children and have adopted 3 of 19 kids that they've fostered over the years. I think that's amazing, by the way. We'll talk just briefly about that. And Ken brought Ad Zombies, his flat fee copywriting service, to life in Phoenix, Arizona. Ken started his creative career in New York City. It's there that he quickly rose to the top of broadcast creative industry. And over the many years of his career, he's been at the helm of brand positioning, advertising, and marketing campaigns. He's led rebranding and resurrection efforts for many brands over the last 3 decades. Brands like the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and its famed Indy 500, Frito-Lay, Samuel Adams, Coca-Cola, and M&M Mars, just to name a few. It's amazing, man. Good work. He's revitalized ailing broadcast outlets and sports franchise brands across the country, and his unique approach is creative and fun, and his memorable branding sets him apart in the industry. His approach is at times edgy, always unique, but very memorable. Guys, welcome to Connect, Share, Prosper, episode 92, Ken Spanky as I stumble.
That's okay.
Moskowitz.
Just think of Feifel from An American Tale. You know, somewhere out there, Feifel Moskowitz.
That's right. Exactly.
Or just call me Spanky. That makes it so much easier for people.
How did you get the nickname Spanky?
The shortest version of the story is I grew up in a New York City, big Jewish family, and it was the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, and my Uncle Hai comes over, and I was a chubby kid, slaps a propeller beanie on my head, took a picture, captioned it when I was 4 years old. The nickname stuck. Here I am now 52, and it has served me well. Even though I hated it, Chaz, I hated the nickname as a kid.
Yeah. It
served me well because people would never remember Ken, but they never forgot Spanky.
I get it. I totally get it. My name, Chaz, C-H-A-S, red hair, everything. Like growing up, I hated it. I didn't really, people could never get my name right, etc. And so I get it, but it's served me well because it's memorable,
Absolutely.
Right? And so you're memorable. I love it. So first of all, I just want to touch on this as we got people coming in. We've got Julie Wakefield. Good morning. Happy New Year. She's coming in to us. So guys, remember, share this episode. You're going to love what we're going to talk about today. Very unique topic we're going to talk about, and make sure you share the episode and put where you're listening from. So interesting though. So you have 2 biological children and have adopted 3 of 19 children that you've fostered over the years. How did you guys get into the foster care thing?
Well, I initially never wanted to have kids, and there's a long backstory to that, but
Sure.
And we could save that for another podcast.
Sure.
But really it came from my wife wanted a big family, and after our second kid, she couldn't have kids anymore. And one night we're laying in bed, and on our local NBC affiliate, they did this weekly series called Wednesday's Child.
Oh.
And Wednesday's Child is about a kid in the foster care system that needs a forever home. And I saw this little boy, and I'm like, how is this kid living in foster care? Like, there's nobody that wants to adopt this kid. And so I started exploring, hey, we should look at doing this. And I really was the driving factor of getting us to take the classes and get the certification. But my wife wanted this, and we both wanted it. And so we wound up going through the year-long process of becoming state certified for foster care. We were put on the emergency list so we could take emergency placements. And like the second or third day we had our foster care license, we had our first placement.
Wow.
And so, yeah, we fostered for several years, and some kids stayed with us a really short time. Our second placement is my oldest daughter, Sydney, who is now 14.
Wow.
And she was just a teeny tiny, like she was no bigger than a soda can. She was a little preemie, and we got her when she was about 6 weeks old because she was in the hospital in the NICU until then. But
wow,
yeah, that's how it started.
Good for you. I just want to tell you that. Good for you. I think that's amazing. I think more people, open their homes and do that kind of stuff is amazing. So I love that. And I think that speaks to who you are and what you're about. And as we've gotten to know each other here, I'm impressed with the things that you're doing from the business standpoint. But you mentioned something to me before I hit record. And I want to touch on this. I'm sure being a parent, being a foster parent, and then rolling into being an entrepreneur, it's tough. It is tough to be a business owner and to be an entrepreneur, and the mindset that it takes to build a business. And I'm sure. So, but you've done something that's pretty amazing. You built your business 0 to 7 figures in 700 days. Mm-hmm. I'd like to dissect the mindset that took to do that.
I can tell you that the biggest part of the mindset of growing a business is an inability to accept failure. See, I don't believe.
What do you mean?
I don't believe in failure. I believe in learning from your mistakes. And I don't feel like a mistake is a failure. I feel like it's a learning opportunity. So every time you do something that's maybe a misstep, or you goof, or you screw up something as you're building your business, you just kind of file that away as, ooh, I learned something from that. So if I did something that I thought was going to be incredible and have great results, and it fell flat on its face, I didn't sit there and beat myself up over it. I just went, ooh, okay, what in that didn't work? Why? Re-engineer it, right?
Yeah.
But I don't dwell on it, right? Things that are in my rear view mirror, I really don't give any energy to.
I love that.
And because you can't change them. You can't go back. It's not like Superman where you can fly around the world backwards and spin things back in time. So why give energy to stuff that's behind you? And so I'm always looking really, really kind of with blinders on ahead.
I get that. So let me just interject something. So
Please.
I get that. I get interviewed a lot on podcasts, and one of the questions I get a lot is, what's your biggest regret in business? And I have a hard time answering that, because I agree. Like, I'm always looking forward. So I don't really regret anything, or there are things that we could have done different, of course, but they were all lessons we learned. And without those, I wouldn't be where I am. So I don't really have regret in business. So I get what you're saying. It's looking forward, and you got to have this ability to like leave it and keep going.
Right. I screw things up on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. But the amount of energy that people put out there in terms of dwelling on their mistakes is really detrimental to their growth and their potential, because you can spend so much time. And I've watched this with certain family members who, something happens in their life, and that moment in their life defines them for the rest of their life, versus just looking at that blip, that little speck of time as just one of those things that they learned from. It defines them. So everything in their world relates back to that moment in time.
So true.
And I feel like a lot of people, when they're building a business, do the same thing, which is why many businesses implode, because you get stuck on your mistakes. And when you get stuck on those mistakes, you can't get out of them because you believe you suck at this. And then it's this self-fulfilling prophecy of failure.
Yes.
Versus the way I'm wired, I just believe that my failures are learning opportunities, and I take what I need from them, and then the rest of it winds up in the trash can because I don't need it. And
so why do you think it is that why is it that you have this ability to let it go where so many people just hold on to it? Is there something you've done that's like, how do you have that?
I just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Right.
And
you can't. The thing is that, and I'll ask anybody, if 1,000 people were sitting in a room in front of me right now, how many people have had traumatic experiences in their lives, failures in their lives, things that everybody's hands would go up. But how many people are able to move on from those things and just move forward? And a lot of people get stuck. And so I just don't give any weight to it, because you can't. If you do that,
so true.
If you do that, you're never going to get out of your own way. It's like people who say, I can never be good at this, or I suck at this. If you believe that you're no good at this and you suck at this, if you say, I can't, you never will. Because as long as you say, I can't, you won't. So it's self-fulfilling. And so for me, I don't have an attitude of I can't. I have an attitude, I'm going to, I will, or I may hold a belief that I'm not good at something, but holding a belief allows me to change my belief.
Isn't that amazing? So first of all, everyone, welcome to Connect Share Prosper episode 92. I am here with Ken Spanky Moskowitz, sharing some important stuff. I want to welcome, we've got Brad and Sarah and some others watching here. Guys, if you have questions for Ken, please, we've hardly even scratched the surface. We're already into this. I love it. His company Ad Zombies, how he took it from 0 to 7 figures in 700 days. I want to talk about that at some point here, maybe in more depth, but I love what you're touching on. I want to just dig here for a second,
please,
because I honestly believe, and I think what you're saying to some effect is that the way we identify, the way we look at ourselves has everything to do, in my opinion, with the success we're going to achieve, because it's the stories we're telling ourselves, right? It's
Absolutely.
like when I meet somebody and I say, who are you? And you say, well, I'm Bill and I'm a chiropractor, or I'm so-and-so, I'm a real estate agent. I'm like, that's not who you are.
Right. That's what you do.
That's what you do, but that's not who you are. Tell me who you are. And we have this identity we take on ourselves. And then that's why it's so hard for people to reinvent careers, because they've identified as this career, and that's not who you are. Right. So how does self-identity and these limiting beliefs you're talking about, how does that play into being an entrepreneur?
For me, it's more about, I don't identify with like what I do as who I am.
Yeah.
I identify with happiness. And so I like waking up in the morning and being happy. So for me, it's not a money play. And anyone on my team knows, like, I'm not motivated, Chaz, by how many dollars I can make this year. That's really just the tiniest piece of my life. But waking up in the morning gratified, waking up happy, holy crap. Like, I wake up in the morning, I don't dread having to get out of bed and do something I don't like.
Yes.
And I try to create that environment for my team. And I mean, I can literally just shout into the office. And I know we had this discussion an hour ago. We were talking about one of my team members is so much happier since she's joined our team and complains less at home. And she said, my husband even notices that. You create that environment around you. And so I wake up in the morning grateful, because I'm not digging a ditch in a cave as a slave. And somebody's always got it worse than you. And so even on my worst day, when things fall apart, when you lose, like, we had one day where we had like, I didn't say a massive amount of attrition, but we had some subscriber plans that just kind of the attrition just happened in like this 5-day period. Yes. And I think we had a revenue drop of like $10,000 or $15,000 a month. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm at least I'm not digging a ditch in a cave.
That's right.
And so you have to look at it. It's perspective, right? If you think you have it bad, if you think you're having the crappiest day you've ever had, just remember, you're not the human being in last place in this world, because there is someone in last place that is chained up in a cave as a slave, working for someone that they have no choice in the matter. Their life sucks. And anything above that, the second best person in this world, the second person above that one, doesn't have anything to complain about. The only person who can complain is that person, the one who's got it the worst.
So powerful, because I think too, like, I try to, when I'm in those moments, I think what you said is so powerful. It's perspective, right? It's trying to have the perspective. So there's two thoughts I have on what you said. One is, when I have a moment like that, I try to remember another time I've had a moment like this and go, look, I made it through that one.
Right.
Like, if I look back, it all worked out. Maybe not exactly the way I wanted, but it worked out. I survived it. It's okay. I'm going to make it through. And then I think there's also this piece of trying to, in the moment, have the perspective of like, you lost 10,000 monthly billing or 15,000 monthly billing, and you rebounded, you came back. What a story. Like, it's trying to remember that I'm in the moment of the down. And if I turn it into the up, think of the story I'm going to have to tell, and trying to remember that in the moment.
Right. Think of it as a roller coaster, right? When you're at a peak in a roller coaster and then suddenly you hit that dip, there's something that's really cool at the end of that dip, is that you have all this momentum, and that momentum takes you back up again.
Yeah.
And so I kind of look at the ups and downs of business that way too. We have good days, we have bad days, we have great days, we have really crappy days. But in the end, this isn't bad. Right. I've got a nice office with some dead zombies behind. Well, dead zombies, reanimated zombies. I literally have zombies all over my office. So.
I love it. So ad zombies. Let's talk about this for a second, right?
Sure.
It's great business. 0 to 7 figures in 700 days. The thought that came to me, and I was thinking about it in the last segment here, and I'm thinking like, how do I ask this question exactly? So I'm just going to attempt.
Okay.
0 to 7 figures in 700 days. Was that the plan? Like,
no.
Okay. I didn't think so, but I'm like, some people are very strategic in the way they launch their business. They're like, no, I that was the plan. I had it all laid out. So by accident.
Yes.
So what were some of the things that worked for you to go to 0 to 7 figures in 700 days?
I listened to my gut, and I always listen to my gut. And Chaz, I will tell you that for 52 years, I've been listening to my gut, and my gut has never steered me wrong. And if more people listen to their gut instead of the voice in the back of their head, and when I say that, I'm not talking about I'm psychotic and have voices in my head. I'm talking about the voice in your head that talks down and gives you that self-doubt and the negative talk. Yeah. If you listen to your gut and not that, you'll be so much happier because you'll achieve the things you want to achieve. And so here's how this happened. I'll kind of paint the picture of how Ad Zombies began and how it just kind of went upwards. I was in a Facebook group, and someone had written an ad that was just, it wasn't performing well at all.
Right.
And it was an ad for a plastic surgeon, and it was for breast reconstruction and augmentation and all the things that plastic surgeons do. The problem with the ad was it was written from a guy's perspective, and there was no emotion in it. And it was written geared for women, this ad. And so in the comment section of this Facebook post, I rewrote the ad and said, here's why I wrote it this way. And I said, when you're writing an ad for women, you have to speak here, then here. For guys, it's the opposite. If you speak here, you will get them here. Women, you start in the heart. And so it's kind of just, and it's just knowing that I've been writing copy since I was 12. In my bedroom is when I started writing copy at 12 years old.
Wow.
And I was a kind of a nerd. Like, I was not the typical, like, go out and play stickball with my friends in New York City. No, I made ads in my bedroom. So I've been doing this
that's interesting. Well, we'll come back to that. It's okay. Keep
going. Very long time.
Yeah.
And so the ad that I rewrote in the comments section got the attention of a few people. I had like 10 or 12 people commenting, where did you learn to write like this? And I just said, hey, this is just what I do. If you ever need help, reach out to me. Now, I wasn't running Ad Zombies at that point. Ad Zombies wasn't even a thing. It was just I'm going to help this person in this Facebook group. Well, I realized that people needed help, they struggled with writing, and I offered to help anyone who needed help with copywriting. That weekend, I received between emails and DMs over 100 requests.
Oh my gosh.
This is an opportunity here. And so I rolled out like, hey, I don't know what this thing looks like, guys, but if you want it, I'm going to make this available to 10 of you because I can't do everybody's ads, and I'll help as many of you as I can. And I put those 10 little packages out there, and they were sold like that. And I'm like, holy crap. And so the business was born literally on a Sunday night. And I'll explain the Sunday night part because Sunday night comes into a very critical moment in this.
Sure.
We had a group of people who were interested in this thing that wasn't a business yet.
Yes.
We had 10 people who had signed up for this thing that wasn't a business yet. And I'm watching on my DVR after the kids went to bed, my then favorite Sunday night show, The Walking Dead. And
Right.
at that time, our head copywriter, Sean, was in his home watching The Walking Dead. And he and I started texting. The two of us were back and forth while we're watching the episode. What is this thing going to be? What are we going to call this thing? And
oh my gosh.
the name Ad Zombies was born during The Walking Dead. Our initial slogan, bring ads back to life, Ad Zombies bring ads back to life, was the initial tagline. And we had it named and
Gosh,
branded
so good.
within just a few minutes. And of course it evolved after spending 5 days with Tony Robbins, realizing that didn't really explain what we did. You know, we needed to kind of like look at this, right?
So Tony helped you figure that out? Like,
so part of the exercise that you do at Business Mastery, and so I spent 5 days at Business Mastery with Tony Robbins, was figuring out what your message is. What does your business do? What does it really do? And what should your business be doing to future-proof the business? And so one of the things that I realized there, and Tony said to me, he goes, he literally did this. He said, what does your business do? And I'm standing up there in front of, 500, 1,000 business owners.
Yeah.
And Tony just asked me directly, what does your business do? And I'm like, I have a copywriting service. And he looks around the room and he says, show of hands, how many of you would do business with this man's copywriting service? And like no hands went up. Now we had already done the exercise, so I knew what I was about to drop on the room.
Yes.
And then he said, okay, now what do you really do for a living? What is your real business? And I said, Tony, we write words that sell anything. And he said,
so
now
good.
How many of you would do business with this man's business? And every hand in the room.
Yes.
And so I knew that I had to reposition, and we did reposition the business over the last couple of years, and we're always evolving. And that's part of what you do when you own a business is you evolve, right? You have to change with the times, clarify your message. But when you're doing these things, the hardest part for most entrepreneurs, and I know it is for me as well, unless you spend time around other like-minded people, unless you spend time around other entrepreneurs, the friends that you have, the people that know you, can't necessarily relate to what you're doing. They may have a 9-to-5 job. They may work for a boss that they hate. They may work in a company that they're not real thrilled with going to every day. And so having a conversation with them about this thing that you're super excited about doesn't have the same level of passion, intensity, and understanding. And it's very isolating. It's very lonely because
so true.
You feel like you're climbing this ladder by yourself, or you're trying to build this thing and you don't know who to turn to for support. And so what I've done, and I've done this over the past several years, is I've chosen to surround myself with like-minded people. They say that you're the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I spend the most time with multimillionaires, a guy who designs homes for billionaires, people like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's one of my mentors, Tony Robbins, Brendan Burchard. I want to spend time and learn from and surround myself with positive people who've made a difference and built businesses beyond what I've done.
Okay, so I want to touch on this, okay? Okay, because you said something and then you went there, so I'm going to keep going there. Guys, we're listening to Ken Spanky Moskowitz, episode 92 of Connect Share Prosper. If you have a question, please put it in the comments. We've got Brad and Tammy and Sarah and others here watching. If you have a question, please put it in. I think people are, because you're getting a lot of hearts and likes, so I think people are just loving the message. They may not have a question, but if they do, I'll shoot it your way. But you said something here, and that is that you, and it sounds like pretty early into your business, you went to this business mastery event with Tony Robbins. It sounds like you also have been intentional about getting to events. I talk about this all the time. We have a national event coming up in April. And the power of getting to events and surrounding yourself with people, it sounds like that's been part of your business strategy, your business plan, or your personal development plan from go.
Yes. My personal development plan wasn't a plan, but let me explain a little bit contextually. I think this will make sense. And for those that are in the audience that are old enough to understand this or who have a reference point, my dad used to be a seminar leader for a guy named Warner Earhart. Earhart Seminars Training. Warner created this thing back in the 70s that was called EST, okay? Earhart Seminars Training. My dad was a seminar leader. My dad surrounded himself with really bright people. I learned from my dad, who spent time with like the higher ups at DeLorean Motors before they all went to jail. But listen, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, this is what it was. Tax evasion, you shouldn't do it.
Right.
And but spent time around really, really smart people and always improved and worked on himself. Wow. Is he perfect? No. Am I perfect? No. We work towards improving ourselves, developing ourselves as individuals. So I learned from him that I want to surround myself with smarter people. And so I've always been driven to do that. And so when this business started, March 6, 2017 was the actual date. In fact, I'm going to do something that I haven't done because I want to show this to you. So I'm going to walk away from the camera for a second.
Yeah, no worries.
I want to show this to you. This was one of the best gifts my wife could have ever gotten me. And it was...
Oh, that's so cool.
On our anniversary, she got me an Ad Zombies anniversary thing. And it's the coolest thing. It actually is a dictionary page with the word zombie on it. But this business started March 6, 2017 in this Facebook group. And the business was growing really, really fast and had no systems and processes because, in case you haven't figured this out by the decor in my office, I'm a creative. I live in the clouds. Yes. I'm not in the dirt.
Which is what makes you good at what you do, by the way.
Yeah, I'm totally aware of that. I am not a well-grounded person in terms of business logic and strategic planning. That's just not my thing. Mm-hmm. And I recognize that those aren't my strengths. Now, am I going to say to you that I suck at doing this? No, but I'm smart enough to know to bring the right people around me to bolster me up in the areas that I'm weakest. And so as the business was growing and it grew rapidly, there were no systems and processes in place because a creative person created the chaos.
Right.
And, we had color-coded emails, and if a payment went through, the email turned green. And if it was a creative brief, it was this color. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so I had sent an email to Gary Vaynerchuk back in, so it was March, probably July of that year of 2017. And I said, hey, I started this thing. Here's what it is. I don't know where it's going, but I could really use your guidance. Next time I'm in New York, I'd love to take you out for dinner and just pick your brain on this. Now, his schedule was pretty packed at that point, but I got an email back from Kim Garcia on his team and said, hey, I got an email back from Gary within a few minutes that said, hey, bro, I'm really packed, but having this special event, this special dinner in New York City at City Winery, would love to have you there.
Oh, wow,
and
cool.
Then got an invite from Kim Garcia to join them in New York and had dinner with Gary. And so that dinner was pivotal for me because whether you like Gary or not, whether you like his style, the fact that he swears a lot, irrelevant to me. The fact that he's built up his dad's liquor business from nothing to a $60 million a year business, and then built VaynerMedia from nothing to now a nearly $200 million agency with offices globally. The guy knows what he's doing.
Yes, for sure.
Right. And so I'm going to pick the brain of an entrepreneur who knows what he's doing and has built things to scale.
By the way, that's the key. He knows what he's doing.
He does.
You're picking the brain of somebody that knows what they're doing. Yes. So,
right. I'm not picking the brain of, the Three Stooges.
Right.
And so at that dinner, Gary said, bro, look at you. You're a creative. I was wearing a pink jacket.
Yes.
I have love it. And I was just being me. And he said, you need an operations person. You need someone who's built and scaled a 7, 8, 9-figure company to run your operational side and show them what you've built without their help. And they'll see the potential. The right person will see the potential and offer them a 20% equity stake in the business. And I said, great. Who is this person? How do I find them? And I was really fortunate enough to have spent time at VaynerMedia with their team and prior to the dinner. And Gary knew that I had 5 or 6 people in my social sphere that had already done this. And so all I had to do was kind of make my short list and then figure out who the right person was. And so that dinner with Gary was on a Thursday night. I spent another day in New York, came home. By Sunday night, I had had my list narrowed down to 3 potential candidates, my top 3. And on the following Tuesday, so it was 5 days after my dinner with Gary, I had lunch with my number 1 pick. And my number 1 pick, Brandon, has been our operations guy ever since.
So you're slow to action, it sounds like.
I am terribly slow. Sloth-like response.
I love it. I mean, that's what I think. Speed is such a separator. I think speed and moving in business is what's key. And many people would have took his advice, wrote it on a notepad, gone home, said, "Cal, he's probably right," and just kept doing what they're doing because it's comfortable. And you said, "Okay, here's a guy that knows what he's doing. Here's the evidence. He clearly says," right? So this blows me away. The number of people that I see they'll work really hard to get in the circle of somebody who knows what they're doing, ask the question, get the advice, and then go, "All right, yeah, that's right. And then go back and do nothing. And stay super excited about the possibilities, but not do anything. And you took action right away, and look how that's paid off. I think it's amazing.
And I think that goes back to the original or the start of our conversation. I don't put a lot of energy into my failures and mistakes. And I've said this to my team, and I say it constantly. There is nothing you can do as an individual that is going to tank or destroy this company. If you make a mistake in the way you handle something, we can fix it. We can course correct. Just do what's in the best interest of our clients, of our customers, and then we'll figure out the rest. And so I take action very fast, knowing that even if my action was slightly off,
so good,
I can fix it.
So good.
And if I blew the whole thing up, okay, well, it was meant to be. Blown
up, right?
It was right. It wasn't going to work. It's funny. I have this conversation with my wife every now and again. Allison and I will talk about this because she and I are wired so differently, and we balance each other because of that. She would still be on the fence and deciding whether or not we should build this Ad Zombies thing.
Yep.
And she always tells her friends, she's like, "I love that my husband pursues his passions and isn't afraid to do things. He just does. And he's not afraid, and I'm not. And you can't be afraid, because what's the worst thing that can happen? You're no better off than when you started." Right.
I agree.
So fear is not a big issue for me. And I certainly don't care about people's judgment. That's another big one.
That's hard as an entrepreneur. I mean, I think most people hear what you're saying, right? And they can say that it's harder to implement that, because still as humans, we want people to like us, I think, generally, and those kinds of things. So I think what you say makes sense for most people. It's the implementation of it that's really hard.
I think, Chaz, that we tend to guard ourselves because we don't want to be criticized. We don't want people to think poorly of us, or to think that we're a loser, or there's a whole bunch of things that go on back here that are not gut decisions. I'm working on right now my second book. And my second book the working title is "Bro, You've Got This."
I like that.
And it's because I believe there's a lot of flashiness in entrepreneurship, but not a lot of realism. And I think that a lot of people are very afraid to just be who they are and be real and be genuine. And so I started sharing in the open of the book, I talk about body image issues with guys.
Yes.
Because guys don't admit that they have body image issues, yet when a gorgeous woman walks into the room, what does every guy do? Right? They peacock, they puff it out. Look at my pecs, and I'm like, no. In my book, I talk about I have man boobs, and I'm not real comfortable with that. And
Right.
I've always had body image issues because I was a fat kid, and so I want to talk to people at a real level because
I love it.
We're humans, right? We all have our weaknesses, our fears, but those things shouldn't stop us from achieving.
And so true.
And so many people live in this dark space of, I can't let my truth be known. I can't share that with people because they're going to think less of me or think I'm weird, or they're not going to respect me, like me. They're going to judge me because my belly hangs over my jeans or whatever the hell it is. Everybody's got these self-doubts. And so I just, part of this for me, it's cathartic writing this book, because my first book was less cathartic and more an action plan of how I built my business.
For sure. Yeah.
Right. This book is more reflective, because I think that I know that if there was something like that out for me, a roadmap for me in terms of the mental health side of the business, would have been really helpful, because I did many times over the last few years, or I have many times over the last few years, felt very alone.
Well, then you hear the phrase, it's lonely at the top, or things like this. And so it's interesting you bring this topic up. So my wife's been dealing with some health issues for the last year, and she just recently decided to be more public about it on social media and talk through it, and just talked about this last weekend about being really authentic and real. Incredibly, she had over 100 messages on the Facebook post and probably another 20 or 30 private messages. And then we started to see other people posting, friends of hers posting their real and authentic health issues they're going through. And like you talked about, the body issues and things. And so I said to her, if it's interesting that so many of us have this, if all of us have this, why is it that we're so reluctant to share the challenges we had? We started joking. You were talking about, the different physical things. I say, I've had people say to me, look me right in the eyes and use the joke about being the redheaded stepchild. I'm like, you realize I have red hair? Like, you know who you're talking to, right? Like, so it's funny how this stuff happens, and we all have it. And yet we try to keep it in. And like you said, not be vulnerable. I just asked her, we talked about it last night. I said, you should come in and do a Connect, Share, Prosper episode with me and share some of the stuff. So she's going to do that. But God, we got to share and be vulnerable. There's no reason to be lonely.
Well, and I think that it's two things. Some people will say, and those are the naysayers, well, you don't want to show your weakness. You don't want to show, and right. I say it's not weakness. I say it shows your humanity, because we all have things that we don't like about ourselves. We all have things that we struggle with. Some people it's depression. Some people it's suicide. Everybody's got their issues. And I feel like, and this is a feeling, that in this country, in the US, and I don't know how it is globally, but I know in the US, talking about mental health is not something, it's like taboo. Yeah, it's right. It's like talking about sex. People are like, oh no, we can't talk about that.
Right. Right.
It's like this dark thing that's not okay to talk about. And I think that that's the wrong approach. My belief is that we should be talking about mental health. We talk about physical health. We talk about dental health. We talk about all of the things, right? Except for this one. And this one is the most powerful one, because this is what leads people down the darkness of suicide and the depression. And right. So I think that there needs to be conversations about mental health, especially in the world of entrepreneurship. I didn't realize how many entrepreneurs take their own life every year because of loneliness, depression. Name the things that cause people to go down that dark path.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've had that as part of our network, our networking organization. We've had members that have taken their life. And I think we talked, this is what my wife and I were talking about. We're like, why is it that, she was saying how at times in her health journey, again, not a business journey, but in her health journey, she felt very alone. And I was just curious, where I was asking, I'm like, yeah, but tell me why. Why would you feel lonely? You have me, you have your mother, your father, your parents, in-laws, all that stuff. Like, why is it? And we started to dissect it a little bit. And I think in any weakness, whether it's the physical, the health, the entrepreneur weakness of feeling alone, we don't want to see it as weakness, and we don't know how to reach out, and we don't know how to ask for help. And and I think in business, you know, as an entrepreneur, you're supposed to have all the answers. You're supposed to have it all figured out. And so anytime you don't, it's seen as you don't have it together, man.
Chaz, I'm going to share this with you, and because it's like my truth. I woke up today, and now people wake up in the beginning of the new year, right? This is still the start of the new year. We're not even 6 days into this thing.
Yeah.
And I woke up this morning and I was feeling down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I feeling down? And I felt like I was like in a really, not a dark space, like I'm going to jump off a building, but like I was in a dark space, and I don't like feeling that way because that's not normal for me.
Yes.
That's not typical. Now, I realize part of the reason why I was feeling that way is that because for most people, the new year is the start of like potential and all this new stuff. And this isn't new stuff and potential for me. The start of a new year to me is just another date and time. So it's not the start of the new year that's brought me down. It just so happens to be that it was a day that I woke up and I'm like, I'm kind of and I was really in a dark space to like, I said this morning to myself, I got to do this podcast today. I don't want to do this.
Right. Yeah.
But guess what? I pushed through my discomfort. I pushed through the way I was feeling this morning. And being a part of this, sharing this, having this conversation, and the interactions I've had with my team here in the office lifted me out of that. And because I talk about things, you share those things. And when you do, you give them no energy, no weight. And suddenly you're able to just, and breathe. Go ahead.
Well, you just said something super powerful, and I want the people listening to this to really think about what you just said, and I want to dissect just for a second, because I think there's a powerful moment there. In what we do in our business, networking, people look at it and go, it's this formal networking thing, and I got to go to these meetings and connect with people, et cetera, et cetera. And I have said to our team for nearly 8 years we've been doing this, I have said that there's more to it than that. That's just the structure. Mm-hmm. But building a business in isolation not only is not good for business, I think for the human spirit, it's not good. And I think with technology now, it's so easy to work in my basement and just plug away and never connect with humans. That human connection is a must. And so what you just shared was, look, you woke up feeling a feeling. And I think we can easily relate this to like when people go, I don't want to work out at the gym, but then you work out and you feel better. Mm-hmm. It's just knowing that's the feeling I have of not wanting to work out today. And yours was like, I have the feeling of not wanting to do business today, or I have the feeling of not really feeling great about what I'm going to do today. But then getting around others and connecting with people changes. I just think it changes our chemistry. It changes something about us chemically that then helps the mental, emotional thing balance out. And that's why I tell people Master Networks is more about the human spirit than it is about a networking meeting. It's about connecting with people. So if you're feeling that today, if you're hearing, whether you're listening to the replay, you're hearing it live, if you're feeling that today, my advice is go get around someone. Yeah. Go be with people. People give energy. They help us uplift. So I just wanted to pull that out of what you said, is you got around people.
Absolutely. Chaz, in my book that came out a year ago, I did a whole section, a whole chapter on this, because at times when you're building a business, it can feel so isolating and you can feel so alone, that I wrote in the book, if you're reading this and you feel like that, or if you're feeling like this at some point, reach out to me. Like, I don't care if I don't know you. You need to have some contact with the world. And because I find that when you dwell on something and you don't share it, you don't talk it through, that's when you go down the rabbit hole of darkness. And I've never gone down that rabbit hole to, harming myself, but people do. And it's scary, because the easiest and most readily available solution is right in front of you. It's the people around you. But again, people are so afraid of being judged. And would you rather be judged the guy who took his life, or would you rather be judged the guy who talked about the challenges and pains and wow, you got help.
That's good.
You know,
That's good. I would. Well, this is interesting. I was just going to say Spanky, and I was like, I wonder why I haven't said that the whole time. And I feel like because that's your nickname, and I feel like I hadn't quite earned the right yet to use that. And now, for some reason, 45 minutes into this, I felt like I earned the right. So it just naturally came out. But I love what you said. And here's what I love about you. Before we started this, you said, look, there's nothing to sell. There's nowhere to send people. I just want to add value. I want to give something to your audience. And I think what you gave today really, I had questions. It's nothing what I planned, right? And I think it happened for the right reason. I think someone needs to hear the message that was on today. And so I appreciate the value you brought to our audience, to our people. Now, that being said, because I think you're so giving and so it was so powerful, the message that you shared, I do want to make sure our audience, if they want to learn more about, we didn't talk ad copy. We didn't talk about what to do. And I appreciate that. But how do people find you? It's adzombies.com.
Yeah, if they want to find my company and just kind of learn about what we do, it's adzombies.com. If you want to find me online directly, you can any of the social channels, Spanky Moskowitz, just SPANKY MOSKOWITZ, or look me up on Amazon. You can find out my book. You can just, there's a lot of ways you can find me. If you want to find me, go ahead and find me. You'll find me.
Yeah. So guys, reach out, find his book, go to his website, learn about Ad Zombies. What an amazing business. And I just think there's going to be more you and I will connect on for sure. I know my audience is going to love this episode, love what you brought to them. I want to thank you for everything you brought to today, because you did bring it. You
thank you. And I want to end with two things for all entrepreneurs, men and women alike, because these two things have been so valuable for me to share with others.
Please.
I am a very physical person. I love hugging people. And I'm going to tell you right now, as a business owner, if you don't think that makes a difference, I do more than shake hands when I meet business associates and colleagues. I hug. And some people are really weirded out by that, but guess what? That's okay. That's their thing, not mine. You're
going to fit right in our community, by the way. I'm waiting for the comments on Facebook, because our national event, we have every picture and video of the national event. The doors open and you can't even get in because everyone, people don't walk in, they hug all the way through the line.
I want to go to this now.
Yeah, man.
So I'm a huge hugger, and I think, and I hug my team members, and I feel like that's it's that connection to other people. And the other thing that I've started doing in my life, which has been so valuable, is meditating. And I was one of these people that thought meditation is weird. It's for, granola heads and tree huggers. Right. And it was just, for me, again, it was a belief that I held about people who meditated, right? Oh, they're all granola heads, tree huggers, and they don't wear deodorant. That was my vision of what people who meditated were. Right. But I started meditating because several close friends, several mentors talked about it and the value it's had for them in their lives. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this. And one of them, a very good friend of mine, Don Schmidt, said, oh, there's this app that you should try. And so I wound up going on, and of course my brain is just not going to pick up the app at the moment. But I'll tell you the app. It's called Headspace.
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 Love that.
And I started meditating and doing guided meditation because I held a belief that I didn't know how to meditate and that I was doing it wrong. And of course, once I started using the app, I realized, oh, wait, having these random thoughts interrupt my meditative time is perfectly normal because I haven't learned to quiet my brain. And
so good.
Once you learn to quiet your brain, once you learn to find that headspace, once you learn to find that inner peace, it's amazing how much more effective your brain is, how much more creative your brain is, how much more you can accomplish. And so meditation is a part of my daily routine, as are taking naps. And I'll take a power nap in the office. And that was something I picked up from Dan Pink, the author of When.
Yes.
And so, but meditation is so valuable for me. And I would say, even if you have a belief about what meditation is, or you think it's weird, try it for 30 days. Do it for 30 days and see how your brain, your body, your mind transform, because it's remarkable.
Such good advice. I'm gonna share a couple comments on the way out here with you. So
please.
Sarah, love Sarah in Minnesota. She says, hugs are the way, all caps. It's the way of Master Network's family to greet each other. See, I told you that was going to come. Connect is so much fun. Julie Wakefield says, Ken, you need to come to Connect. Connect is the name of our event. Our national event is called Connect. So that's what she's referring to.
Tell me when this event is, and if I can fit it in my schedule, I will be there.
Yeah, it's April 16th, 17th, and 18th in the Dallas area where we're at.
Okay.
So let's see. Keep going down, Ricardo. Love your honesty. Hold on. I'm going to go this way. Great to hear from a fellow hugger. Love it. See, I told you that was going to resonate with our audience, because people in our network, we hug, and it's just a cool thing. You know, the human connection, the human spirit, to be around people is what's powerful. I mean, business is still people, and your customers are people, and you got to treat them like people. You can leverage technology so many ways, but it's people.
It is people. And Chaz, I'm gonna make a really, this wasn't planned. It was
just I know, right?
If you are still looking for speakers, if you're looking for anyone to keynote or do whatever at the event, count me in.
All right, we are. So will you write that down? I'm gonna go get with our team today. We just had our meeting today. Guys, if you're, by the way, so this is great. Thank you for doing that. I love that.
I love the connection here. So I'm like, all right, let's just do this.
Let's do it.
And the only thing I have that conflicts with it is my Habitat for Advisory board meeting, but I'm sure that I can remote into that.
Guys, so, you're looking at this live as we are talking about.
Oh yeah. I went to my calendar. I said, okay, April 17th, I've got my Habitat for Humanity Advisory board meeting. I'm like, I can work everything else. I can work around.
Well, we'll have you there. It would be our honor. We'll make it work in your schedule too. So, and guys, keep in mind, so we're 35% sold out or sold already. We will sell out like we did last year. Ticket prices go up the 13th. So we're closing in on ticket prices. If you don't have your Connect tickets, I think Ricardo posted, make sure you get your Connect tickets at attend-connect.com. Super excited to have Spanky there and talk about all kinds of amazing stuff. We'll work that out, but man, I'm honored to have you at our event.
I am thrilled. And again, it was just like, you just feel, by the way, there's another thing, guys, if you feel like motivated and called to do something, don't second guess that, just do it. Right. And you just saw me do that live because I'm like, I feel like I need to be a part of this.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? Like, guys, what he's sharing is so powerful. You talked about leading with your gut. You talked about, I have, things that logically sometimes I've done. My team's like, wait, that didn't really make sense. I'm like, I know it doesn't, but don't worry about it making sense. We'll figure it out. Like, we're going to do this. And it's always works. It just always works. So I love that. Guys, go follow this guy. What a gem. Having Ken Spanky Moskowitz, part of our Connect Master Networks family. Love having you on this episode. Thank you so much. This was episode 92. Appreciate your wisdom. Guys, go follow him. We'll put your links to Ad Zombies, Facebook, all that stuff in our show notes. So we'll make sure that everyone gets connected with you. And Perfect. If there's anything our community can ever do, you please reach out.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute privilege.
Guys, remember, every Monday, noon Central, I bring successful entrepreneurs, in many ways successful, right? Not always just numbers, but in many ways they're making an impact on their local community, national. And that's what it's about, bringing entrepreneurs your direction to share their wisdom with you. Successes, failures, struggles, the lessons learned. And we learned that today with Spanky on this episode, Connect, Share, Prosper. Episode 92. Remember, please share this episode. Share it with the members of your chapter. Share it with your friends. Share it with entrepreneurs who may be struggling in isolation to build their business, and they need to hear this message today. Make sure you share that. Guys, thanks for being part of this episode. We'll see you next week. Be well. Take care. Are you ready to build your network at lightning speed? Well, mark your calendar for April 16th through the 18th and join us at Connect. You'll experience 3 days of growing, networking, and breaking through your limitations. Look, you'll never be the same. So go to attend-connect.com to learn more.